This is the fourth time I've come to Porto to conduct the Banda Sinfonica Portuguesa, and every time it's a pleasure. It's a wonderful wind orchestra, one of the best in Europe. And the feedback I got from the musicians and also from the people around the orchestra the first time was 2008, so 6 years ago, was so wonderful that I was really very pleased to be invited back in 2010 and then 2011 and this year. It's a wonderful group of musicians who are really fulfilling a very, very important cultural role here in Portugal and, as I said, in Europe in general. This time our concert includes 2 Japanese pieces, because this year the Casa da Musica has an Asian, let's say, theme or motto. And so Francisco Ferreira, the director of the banda, asked me to include some Japanese music, because he knows that I live in Japan and work a lot in Japan and know quite a lot of Japanese repertoire. It's not the first time. Actually, in 2008 and 2010 I conducted Japanese music too, but this time we're including 2 pieces. One of them is a timpani concerto. Actually, the title is a percussion concerto, but it's mainly for double timpani, left and right at the back of the orchestra, and then other percussion players joining in too. And it's a very exciting piece. It's only about 7 or 8 minutes by a very, very significant Japanese composer, Mayuzumi. And the other Japanese piece is of a lighter character. It sounds maybe more Japanese. We might associate some of the sounds with the music we might have heard on samurai films. And then between that, we've got a piece by Granger. I always like to include Granger, Percy Granger, the Australian composer, because he's, for me, maybe the greatest composer for wind orchestra. His famous and lovely Colonial Song. We're starting the program with Reed, Alfred Reed, one of the great American composers for wind orchestra. His music is always so perfectly written. It's a charming 3-movement suite, which also has, by the way, a Japanese connection, because he wrote it for a Japanese city called Takaseki, north of Tokyo. And then the main piece, if you like, at the end of the concert is the Sinfonia Resurrectionis by Nelhibel. Nelhibel was a Czech who emigrated because of the communist takeover of his home country, went to America and discovered the wind orchestra as a medium there, and wrote this very big, complicated, but amazingly impressive and moving piece, the Resurrection Symphony, which includes a lot of bells, offstage tape, an alto flute with a microphone, a piccolo trumpet, and all kinds of effects, lots of percussion, very exciting piece. So I think it's a program which hangs together well, but it has many different colours as well. This orchestra is an orchestra of highly qualified, mainly young professional musicians who dedicate their time to making a professional wind orchestra possible. And this is something very special. In comparison, for example, to the professional symphony orchestra here, the National Symphony Orchestra of Portugal, this wind orchestra is comprised of people who are not earning their main money from it, and they're dedicating their professional ability to making the orchestra possible, and are, as a result of that, to be respected, each and every one of them. And they're also, of course, wanting something in return from the conductors. We conductors who come here are dedicated to elevating the level of the orchestra, to helping the orchestra to grow through our different repertoire knowledges, myself, Vilaplana, Kolba, Eugene Copron, and of course Francisco Ferreira himself. So I try to come here well prepared with interesting programs so that I can give this orchestra, this wonderful group of musicians, about 60 or 65 musicians, give something of myself and try to give them a good time and a rich experience. The wind orchestra is growing in importance in the world in general. There are some countries where the wind orchestra has been an essential part of musical life already for some years. I'm thinking of Scandinavia, Great Britain, of Japan, and other countries. And it's growing more and more in other countries, of course, also in Portugal. The old idea of the banda, the city banda, which had more of a ceremonial role or a role for parades and parties and so on, this has been overtaken. Of course, that role is still important, but now the symphonic wind orchestra as a noble and wonderful art form to be compared with the symphony orchestra, the opera house, chamber music, the choral tradition, the world of choruses. The wind orchestra is growing in stature very, very much. And I wish, maybe it's one of my reasons that I love to do the wind orchestra, is that I'd like that to grow more and more and more as a recognized art form. Personally, I like diversity. So I would hope that people who go to symphony concerts also go to wind orchestra concerts, go to opera, go to string quartets, whatever. But I don't like the idea of putting the wind orchestra sort of in a different place. I like it to be an integral part of musical life. And so the composers, lots of young composers who are composing now for this medium, they are part of our development, because some of them are composing mainly for wind orchestra, partially because they have the chance that wind orchestra pieces will be played more than symphony orchestra pieces will. So I do believe that the wind orchestra is taking more and more its rightful place in musical life. I think that the Banda Sinfónica Portuguesa in the next 10 years and thereafter should pursue the same way. What I've noticed, not having been here for 3 years, I couldn't come during the last 3 years, is that the band has developed significantly, musically, and in its stature, and also in discipline. I mean discipline in the best sense, musical discipline meaning everybody being well prepared in the rehearsals, being there, being behind the orchestra, being part of the orchestra, enjoying, sharing that energy which is necessary, and also that vision. So I think we could simply say more of the same. If the members of this orchestra and the future new members will join with joy and dedication, then I think that the role that this orchestra can play in the wind orchestra world and the musical world in general, not only in Portugal, but internationally, is significant. So let's hope and pray for the future of the BSP. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful future.
Thank you very much, Maestro, for your interview.
My pleasure. Thank you.